People don't seem to care about rap albums how they used to. J. Cole dropped the Fall Off. People talked about it for a couple weeks, I guess, but now nobody's saying nothing about it. ASAP Rocky dropped the Fire Project at the beginning of the year. Nobody's talking about it anymore. Baby Keem dropped another Fire album, in which I really enjoy, along with the other two albums that I mentioned. When it first dropped, people were talking about it. They're no longer talking about it. What's going on with people's attention spans in this weird time period for music?
Rap albums just don't have the staying power that they used to. I was just sitting here reminiscing on times in rap where there were just huge moments when it comes to these albums, and I miss how we used to all talk about them, how everyone knew what was going on with the album. No matter who you talk to, if they were a rap fan, they had some sort of opinion on it. Everyone's heard it, everyone's listening to the music. Wherever you go and there's hip hop being played, you hear that album, and I just don't feel like we have that same experience anymore. I know that sounds like me being like the good old days, but like just an observation of what's going on in the world today. Even with these albums that are heavily marketed, heavily pushed in the mainstream space, it feels like they come and go in less than like a month. And oftentimes, it's not even that like it's a quality issue. Like I know it's easy to say, oh, well, maybe those albums back then were just better, but I don't even think that's the main issue because some of these albums that are coming out nowadays are actually very good, but we don't all consume them. We don't all talk about them anymore.
Right.
Like just off the top of my head, even in modern history, like you can go back to the 90s and the 2000s when everybody was listening to pretty much like the same thing, at least on a mainstream level. But just maybe 5-10 years ago, we had this experience. Like when I think of something like The Life of Pablo from Kanye, that was a huge cultural moment. Everyone was paying attention to that. I remember that. Utopia from Travis Scott. Everyone was paying attention to that. Scorpion or Reviews from Drake. Everyone was paying attention. Everyone had a view on that. Everyone had a take on that. Look at something like even the newer guys with Lil Baby with his My Turn album. I felt like that album was everywhere. Lil Uzi Vert's Eternal Take. Everyone remembers where they were when Eternal Take dropped. Like that was a huge thing, a huge deal. Obviously that coincides with the pandemic as well, but it just felt like we had more of these albums that were moments that everyone was locked in on, and that just does not exist today. Like this year alone, we've had a couple of really big mainstream albums. I would say that Don't Be Dumb by A$AP Rocky is one of those. I would say that Octane by Don Toliver is one of those. I would say that J. Cole's The Fall Off is one of those. I would say Yeat's ADL is kind of one of those as well. And I would say Bully by Kanye West is one of those. But none of those albums have had massive staying power. Like, yes, they might have done well on the charts. They might have sold a bunch. But it doesn't feel like they took over the rap conversation. It doesn't feel like no matter where you go in the rap world, somebody's talking about it or somebody's playing it or anything of the sort. These albums aren't even all bad either. It's not like, oh, well, they're just trash albums. No, they're pretty good. I think The Fall Off was pretty good. I think Octane was pretty good. I think Don't Be Dumb was good. Like, these are good albums. They just don't stick anymore. There just aren't very many moments in rap where it feels like somebody kind of grabs a hold of everyone's attention collectively. Even if we go back to 2025, not just counting this year, I don't really think there are too many albums that did that on a wide scale. I would say that maybe Music by Playboi Carti is the one that did it. Maybe Make America Slime Again from NBA Youngboy, but honestly, that was more so the hype from the tour and NBA Youngboy doing his first tour in like 6 years or something like that. But I think that even Carti's music, you can argue, didn't really like dominate rap culture in the way that those albums that I talked about previously did. Like, yes, it was big, but even then, you can still say, I don't really know. Not everyone everywhere was necessarily focused in on what Carti was doing with I Am Music. And I think that the real last album that really took over rap culture, really had everyone paying attention, really just grabbed
GNX,
everyone by the balls, for lack of a better phrasing, was GNX by Kendrick Lamar. And even then, if you look at what we had to do to get to that point where an album like GNX is taking over, there's so many obstacles and hurdles that you have to jump over that it's just unrealistic for the average rapper, even the average mainstream rapper. For one, it's Kendrick freaking Lamar, one of the greatest rappers of all time. For two, he's also one of the hottest rappers in the world. And for three, he was coming off the back of beating Drake in a rap beef, and probably the biggest rap beef of all time, performing at the Super Bowl. So you have one of the greatest of all time, one of the biggest of all time, coming off of the biggest beef of all time, beating Drake, one of the biggest commercial rappers ever, probably the biggest commercial rapper ever, and you also have the Super Bowl halftime performance. Those are not variables that the average rapper can throw in. How is somebody like Young Thug gonna take over rap culture again when that's what it took from Kendrick Lamar in order to be the topic of discussion for like 2 to 3 months? And I mean just the album in particular. Obviously, Kendrick has been the topic of discussion since the whole beef, but you get what I'm saying. Like there are so many hurdles that these rappers have to jump over now in order to be the topic of discussion that it just kind of sucks. I don't know. I kind of miss those days where everyone was talking about the same thing, and I think that also leads me to the conversation that exists outside of rap, which is the death of monoculture, which is the thing where everyone is consuming the same thing, which is like, cooler talk, right? When you go to work, you can talk about certain things because everyone's watching it. Something like Friends back in the day. Everyone watched Friends. It didn't matter who you were, where you were from, how old you were. Everyone knew about Friends. Everyone was
It's interesting because I never really got into Friends like that.
watching Friends. The finale of Friends was shown on like billboards in Times Square. Like everyone knew about that stuff, but we don't really have that anymore. We don't really consume things the same way. Everyone's so broken off into their own little world nowadays. The closest thing we have, or not the closest, but like I say the most recent thing that was like monoculture was probably like Avengers Endgame. Like those movies, the Avengers not Civil War, but the Avengers Endgame and all that stuff. That was probably the closest that we got to, or the last time that we experienced something similar
that was a minute ago too.
Monoculture. Like it just doesn't exist out there anymore. And not only is monoculture dead, but we just consume things so fast. We consume so much every single day that things just don't last the way that they used to. Like Alyssa Liu, right? She won the gold medal for ice skating, I think, at the Winter Olympics. She was America's sweetheart for like 2 weeks. I could not open my phone, turn on my television without seeing her face, without somebody talking about her, without somebody mentioning something to do with her. And now we're not even 2 months removed from that, and I feel like she's completely disappeared. Like completely. I saw her like a few weeks ago maybe doing like a TikTok with Lofe, or however you say her name, the artist, and that's like it. Like these things just happen so much faster. I felt like back in the day things actually kind of got time to marinate and cook and then be enjoyed by the masses, and then we talk about how we enjoyed it and then we move. Like nowadays it's like this. It's like we consume everything like fast food, and that happens in rap as well. Everything is fast food. It doesn't matter if you spent years putting this album together, J. Cole, we still consume it like it's a McDonald's hamburger and fries. So while you might have tried to make this beautiful filet mignon, I'm going to eat it like it's a McDonald's hamburger and fries. I'm going to be driving my car, trying to like reach over into the bag and take a little nibble off and drink my soda and reach again.
Analogy.
It feels like that's how we consume everything nowadays. We don't sit there and take these albums out and set the dinner table up and cut slices off and make sure we got it nicely salted and talk about, pass me the potatoes, pass me the wine. That's not how we consume things. We consume them all like we're driving home from McDonald's. You're reaching in the bag, take a little bite out of it, and by the time you get to the house, it's already cold and it sucks. Like it's like it feels like that's how we consume music nowadays. I think that if Let God Sort 'Em Out had came out in like 2012, it would have been a monster. It would have been looked at on the same level as like Watch the Throne or something of the sort. But it came out in 2025, and that's not to say that it wasn't hitting the same in 2025, because this is still an amazing album, but in the way that it impacts rap culture is completely different. And you might be watching me say this and say to yourself, what are you talking about? Like, I was talking about Let God Sort 'Em Out. My friends were, my cousins were. When I went on YouTube, the people I watched were talking about it. But that's still such a small portion of the pie. Just think about it like this. Do you think that the No Jumper audience was listening to Let God Sort 'Em Out? Do you think that the Say Cheese audience was listening to Let God Sort 'Em Out? Do you think that Academics' audience were listening to Let God Sort 'Em Out? And you might say to yourself, who the hell cares about those audiences? And you might be right. But still, those are massive portions of the rap world that just were not really engaging with that thing. And if they were, they talked about the album sales for a second and said the album sales were fugazi. And that was it. There's just so much going on that these albums don't impact everyone. I think that the way that albums are appreciated today kind of transitioned from being like going to the club where everyone's there, everyone can get in, anybody can do whatever. Like it's just everybody come on in, come to the club. And now albums and the way that they're listened to are much more like family kickbacks. where it's like everyone here kind of knows each other, at least knows each other for the most part, or knows the person that you know. You might bring an extra friend or two, but still, this is kind of a closed off thing for the family. We all kick it back. We know each other. We're enjoying ourselves. We're having a good time. We might be even having a greater time than going out to the club, but it's just not us going to the club and interacting with literally everyone. And it's kind of similar to a family kickback in the sense of you might drive by and hear that family kickback. You might walk down the street and smell the barbecue, and you might know what's going on in there, but you don't have to necessarily engage with it. And I think that's what happened really with music by Playboy Cardi. I think that music and the way that it was appreciated was like a really big family kickback. Like everyone in the neighborhood knew it was going on. Everyone's paying attention to like the cars in the driveway. We all hear the music, but not everyone was over there. I was over there, but not everyone in rap was over there. And I just kind of missed the days of rap albums having real staying power and just really taking over discussion. Like, I think that's something like obviously the Drake and Kendrick thing was huge for rap and everyone was talking about that. But like, I think conversations like that are so much fun. Not necessarily the beef or whatever, but just when everyone is talking about the same thing and trying to break it down and giving their different take. I think it's great. But I think that the only way that that happens nowadays is if somebody like Kendrick drops, if somebody like Drake drops, maybe if a Travis Scott drops. Like there are maybe a handful of names that can really, really dominate when they drop an album nowadays. It just doesn't exist anymore. And honestly, I don't even think it's the fault of the rappers or the fault of the artists. I don't think it's like a skill issue thing. Like, oh, these guys just aren't good enough anymore. I think it's just the culture that we exist in nowadays makes it a lot harder to really be the topic of discussion. If you're really that dude, you can do it, but there's really only a handful of guys. That's why somebody like Kanye can drop Bully and I mean, yeah, it wasn't like a crazy good album, but still. 21 Savage dropped an album and it literally got Thanos snapped. People played like that one little song with Drake that sounded kind of goofy. Thanos snapped out of existence. Damn. These guys who are big names don't even get a sip of attention when they drop an album. Lil Baby dropped 2 albums in 2025. None of them, neither of them, both of them just kind of, they just, oh, did you hear it? Baby dropped an album? Oh, okay. That's what happened. And I like the second album, but still, we just got to be realistic. There's no longer this culture that just sticks together and sticks on one album. Everyone is off doing their own separate thing, and that's cool. I don't mind it. I'm not saying that that's necessarily like a horrible thing. I'm just saying that I kind of miss those days of everyone being on the same page, talking about the same thing, all of us being in the same bubble. But I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait until somebody crazy drops something just so amazing that we all have to pay attention to it. There's no escaping it. I don't know what that'll be. You can say Iceman. You could say Travis's next album. You could say Kendrick's next album, whatever it's going to be. But yeah, these albums nowadays just do not stick around.
There we have it. These albums nowadays just don't stick around. You know what's something I was thinking about as he was talking? I think that the days where artists will drop an album and then during that first week they'll kind of roll out the album, they'll do some interviews, they'll drop some music videos. Sometimes they'll drop like 2-3 music videos in the first week, the first couple weeks of the album being out. Boom, they got the singles going, they got the album out, and then kind of after that, they really stop promoting it for real. If you really pay attention, a lot of rappers, that first month or so, first 2 weeks to a month that the album is out, they'll be promoting the album, but then after that, that's it. I think that the new strategy for 2026 and moving on, just because of the climate, I feel like people have to roll out albums for a whole year now or for 6 months. You need to be giving us context about this album. You need to be posting content about the album. You need to be dropping more videos to the album. You need to be dropping alternate videos to the album. Just give the people a little bit more so then that they can be reminded. Because people need a reminder nowadays because there's so much stuff that's going on. There's so much content that's being consumed. People, they need to be reminded of what you got going on. So I feel like if rappers can adopt that strategy, I think that albums will have a little bit more staying power, because the consumer is consuming way too much, and they're gonna forget about your album that dropped. If you didn't promote it in 3 months, they're gonna forget that you dropped it. So give people that reminder. Drop another video. Drop another interview. Another vlog. Another appearance. Another side mission that goes hand in hand with the album. We have to roll out albums for the whole year now. We have to roll out songs longer and really, really give people different forms of content that they can consume, that they can eat up during that process. That's just me offering a solution, because that's definitely what I'm gonna do when my album drops. I got an album that's in the tuck right now that's gonna drop probably in a couple months, and that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna be promoting. I'm gonna be rolling out that album for the whole year. So expect more content from me, baby, for real. But y'all gonna like this video. Comment on this video, man. Let me know what y'all think about monoculture. That shit is dead, man. The algorithm in the internet and is just there's so many different people in the world. There's so many different forms of content. There's so many different forms of music. There's so many countries. There's so much of everything that it's gonna get damn near impossible to get everybody's attention. But like I said, with that strategy of just giving people more context of what you're doing, giving people more reminders, updates, and stuff like that, that can help a little bit, Subscribe to the channel, click the post notification bell. Appreciate y'all. Love. Keep grinding out there, man. Love y'all. Spicy.